Let us get started building the number hunt game. Remember, the first thing we want the computer to do is to pick up a random number between say 1 and 100. Now these limits are arbitrary, you could choose some other limits. But given that we need the computer to pick up a random number, we must first import the random module. So I just go and say, for example, import random. And then I just assign a number, for example, n is equal to random.rand int, say 1 and 100. Now, because in my game here, I'm going to pick up a number between 1 and 100. Now, having done this, I just tell my user that, look, I've selected the number. Can you please guess it for me? So I just go and put a print statement. I have selected a number say between 1 and 100. Can you guess? Obviously, we're talking of the number, so it's effectively saying, can you guess this number? Now, let's just run this code a little bit to understand what's going on. Basically, right now it's very simple. It's just putting a print statement, but notice that n every time is going to be different. So if I run this, for example, now n was 40. If I run this again, because n is being picked up randomly, perhaps it's different, it's time 55 and so on and so forth. So every time the game is run, a new number is picked up. Now what happens after this is quite interesting. Basically, we enter into some kind of an interaction with the user where we ask the user to guess. Once the user guesses the number, we tell the user whether our number, the chosen number, is smaller than your guess, bigger than your guess, or equal to your guess. Now, as you can imagine, this process is number one, interactive. Number two, we do not know how many guesses the user is going to make in order to get the correct number, which means that we are going to repeat a certain piece of code, but we do not know upfront how many times this repetition will be done. In such situations, we use what is called a while loop. However, before I go there, I'm going to introduce a special kind of variable because we'll use that in the while loop. What I'm going to do is that I'm just going to, set up what is called a Boolean variable. So I come in here and I tell, look, I set a variable called done and I make it equal to false. Now, what do I mean by this done? Like I said, done is a special type of variable called a Boolean variable, which takes only true or false as values. Now, what I imply with this is that, look, there's an interactive process that's going to get set up as we go on. This done indicates whether that interactive process is completed or say done or not done. So if I set it to false in the beginning, it means that, well, there's still work to be done. And, I need to kind of complete all of that work before I set it back to true. We'll see that as we go forward. But at this point, I just want to spend a little bit of time looking at this variable, let's say done. So if I run this code now, so if, for example, if I look at done, notice it tells me false. Now, if I look at the type of done, so done is like I said, a special variable called Boolean, and that's why we say class bool. Now, bool here stands for Boolean. The beauty of these Boolean variables, or rather the property of these Boolean variables, is that there are only two values that they take, which is either true or false. Now, done is false. For example, if I look at not done, in fact, it will be true. So, Booleans are, like I said, very special variables. We're using it here because we're just kind of indicating whether some process is completed or done or not done. Now, before I move on, before I wrap this up rather, I just want to take you back to Scratch, which I always do, because Boolean variables are something that, in fact, we have used a lot in Scratch. If you just look back at, Scratch, you'll find there are lots and lots of blocks to diamonds. For example, something more than 50, something less than 50. This thing, this in a list, for example, this list contains something, some space, keys pressed and all that. All of these are diamonds. And if you think about it, the only values possible for these are true or false. For example, if you're touching mouse pointer or you're not touching mouse pointer. In fact, there's a very special Boolean input that we gave during our pen platformer game. And that was also when we created a MyBlock. So in short, we have looked at Booleans already in a lot of detail. Booleans in Python are no different. They take exactly two values, true or false. And as we saw, we can see the type of this variable, for example, is say Boolean, right? So keep in mind that what we are dealing with here is exactly what we have seen before in Scratch. We will see in the next video onwards how we will use this in, for example, setting up a while loop. As before, if this way of learning appeals to you, learning through activities, look at our website www.ybyte.in, because there are tons and tons of content of this sort that may be interesting to you. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.